Looking for a 2-out RBI with the Dodgers already in front 3-0. Turner's ground.
Dodgers had 3 2-out RBIs yesterday when they scored 15.
Last
year was a problem with them, the 2-out clutch hit. They were 10th in the National League. Dodgers had 3 2-out RBIs yesterday when they scored. Led the league with 2-out RBIs with a batting average of .272.
Turner goes after an elevated fastball. 1-1. Quietly, the #1 offensive third baseman in the majors over the last 2 years by just about every measure. Whether you're a traditional stat guy or you like the newer age stats, just about every bottom line statistic tells you that there's no better hitting third baseman in the game since Justin Turner joined the team 2 years ago. 1-1. Ball 2. And to think that this guy was released less than 3 years ago by the Mets. Came to the Dodgers in 2014, had a breakout season, hit .340, getting a chance because of the injuries to Hanley Ramirez and Juan Uribe. And then last year, another big year, 3-1.
You can expand your compliments past third base too with Justin Turner. I mean, he's one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball now when it comes to average over the last 2 seasons.
Tied with Buster Posey, #1 in the NL, regardless of position. Flies this one to right field. Matt Kemp is there, and that's the inning. Dodgers get a 2-out double from Seager, but leave him there. They lead 3-0. We're halfway home in San Diego. Back here in San Diego, beautiful downtown area where the ballpark is located. Those opening day tickets can be hard to score, but you can guarantee your tickets to opening day by getting the Dodgers mini plan. You can choose from great promotional games that feature fan favorites like bobbleheads and brand new retired number pins. So visit Dodgers.com/mini plans and get yours today. Scott Kazmir back on the hill. He's retired 11 in a row. And Derek Norris, who struck out his first time, looks at a big bender for strike 1. Nomar, I remember you saying during spring training that when you look up and down this Padres lineup, this is the guy that if you were building a team, you would handpick from this group.
Yeah, just the way, he's a grinder. Goes out there, he plays the game hard, runs down the first base hard. He actually led this team last year in infield hits. So he's a catcher, and you wouldn't think that out of a catcher, but he's got some really good speed. And they also say just not only the way he plays, but also in the clubhouse, he has that type of personality where he is pushing guys, he's vocal, and you rally behind him. And he exudes that on the field.
One base runner for the Padres tonight on an infield single in the first inning. Scott Kazmir's Dodger debut. At times this spring where the velocity wasn't what folks thought it should be, the numbers weren't good. There was some momentary panic from people overreacting. There's a pop-up on the right side of the infield for Adrian Gonzalez. Thing is, though, I mean, we always talk about spring training being spring training, and you never want to look into the numbers too much, but especially when you're talking about a guy that's been playing in the majors for more than a decade. If he tells you that he's okay, chances are he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think he really was building into getting to opening day and the season. He wasn't worried about the results, even asked to go over into the minor league field. It's like, I don't need a big league game. I want to go over here and I want to work on some things, get to know the rhythm of the new catchers, build some communication with Rick Honeycutt, his new pitching coach, and then build his arm strength and bring his pitches along. We said it for a while. Spring training just doesn't matter. Enjoy it. Let the guys get in shape. Evaluate the young guys.
It doesn't matter for veterans.
Yep.
It matters for young guys trying to make it.
And show that they can play along the veterans.
But for the veterans.
Solarte hits a skyscraping fly ball to Carl Crawford. 13 in a row retired by Scott Kazmir. Alana Rizzo, what's going on?
Well, Scott Kazmir asked for that B game specifically, really to get on the same page with Yasmani Grandal, as Oral was alluding to. They wanted to make sure that they could continue that rhythm between battery mates. And as far as the velocity was concerned, that so many people on the outside were making such a big deal out of, Yasmani Grandal told me after that B game that anytime Scott Kazmir wanted to ramp it up as far as the velo was concerned, he was able to do it. It was never a concern for either one of those guys or this team.
Alexi Ramirez fouls off the first one, and Oral, you talked about it too. As your career went on, you would build yourself up as spring training went on.
Yeah, you know, as you get older, your body is just not ready to fully compete until you kind of gradually ramp it up. You don't want to put your game face on that you're going to use in April and May at the beginning of the year when your body is not ready for it yet. And Ben Hines, our hitting coach at the time when I was starting to get older, he go, why is there so much levity in your spring training games? I said, Ben, I can't put my game face on right now. I would hurt myself. I have to wait until my body is ready for my game face.
Same reason you haven't kept score for a full game yet? You're ramping up to the...
I kept score yesterday when Mr. Scully was doing it in the studio.
So we've done one. Good.
Finishing touches.
Good. He was slowly building up, Nomar, as we were going through spring.
And you know what? He's right, though. When you're, as you get older, too, and when you're a veteran, you end up knowing yourself, and it's not about the results. There's certain things over the course of spring that you're looking or trying to achieve that lets you know whether you're right, not right, what you have to work on. And you recognize that there is that buildup, whether it's a pitcher, position player as well, where oftentimes you hear them when they get interviewed. Veteran guy, like, it wasn't the result. I felt the ball coming out of my hand nicely. A hitter saying, I saw the ball really well today. You know, well, you're 0 for 4. Yeah, but I actually saw the pitches.
Hit hard, but right at Chase Utley. Another perfect frame for Scott Kazmir. And his Dodger debut is turning into a sparkling one. That's 14 in a row retired by Kaz. Adrian Gonzalez sent the lead off the inning for the Dodgers, up 3-0. All 3 runs coming in the 4th against James Shields. Gonzalez scored one of those runs after doubling. Yasiel Puig brought home the game's first 2 tallies with a triple. Showed bunt and then fouled it off with the overshift on.
Showing bunt made the shortstop who's shifting kind of lean in, so it actually expands the hole on the left side because you start to screw up his footwork.
Because he's starting to charge. You say,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
Just the same way you would do it as a slap hitter if he was playing normal third base.
We talked about, we actually saw Adrian Gonzalez at spring training when they had the shift on him in spring training actually work on it or actually square around to try to bunt over there. We even talked about it at spring training where if he's leading off the inning and they recognize that shift, he is thinking about just taking advantage of it because he's not thinking about hitting it out of the park. He's thinking about, my job is a leadoff hitter. I'm supposed to get on base.
Shields strikes him out with a tailing fastball back over the inside corner. Sixth punch out of the game. Up comes Yasiel Puig. We look at our Carl's Cam replay. It involves already 2 triples this year for Puig. One of them last night, one of them in the 4th inning to plate 2.
And I think the key is seeing them where they go. The right center and then center field. Stay inside the ball, put nice swings on it. As the Carl's Cam showing off Yasiel.
Pulls a bounce it is short. Alexi Ramirez gobbles it up and throws him out. 2 away. Carl Crawford is 1 for 2 tonight with an RBI single in that 3-run 4th inning. Brought home Puig against a drawn-in infield by shooting the ball through the left side. Key for Carl staying healthy. 4-time All-Star, but has dealt with injuries over the last few seasons. He's an All-Star in 2004, in 07, in 09, and in 10. That was all with Tampa Bay. And it was all with James Shields, by the way. Those injuries have slowed Crawford down lately.
If he stays healthy this year, he came into this year with 1,916 hits. Got a chance to enter the 2,000 hit club. Adrian Gonzalez, 1,792. He's probably not going to reach it this year.
Crawford debuted way back in 2002, played his first full season the following year. There was some days early on in his career when he was one of the bright young players in the game. Went from Tampa Bay to Boston, just wasn't a good fit there. He's admitted it. He came over to the Dodgers as part of that 9-player deal 2 days after he had Tommy John surgery, which kind of started his downward spiral with the injury problems. 2-2.
And the athleticism that he has, the speed. One thing is to have the speed, but I'll tell you, I remember playing against him. You know what you didn't want to do is get Carl in a rundown. He was so hard to get out in just a rundown.
Reaches out, flips one to third. That's caught by Solarte. You saw some of his background as an option quarterback, right? As a point guard. Cat-like quickness for Carl. Dodgers down in order in the 6th.
Sixth inning, of course, Melvin Upton Jr., just one half of the Upton brothers that used to play here in San Diego. Justin now with the Tigers, but he's a one pair of 6 different sets of hermanos de los padres that have played here. Of course, we have our own Adrian and Edgar Gonzalez, and Jerry Hairston Jr. and his brother Scott Hairston, Brian and Marcus Giles, Tony and Chris Gwynn, of course, and Roberto and Sandy Alomar. Certainly a family affair here, guys.
All right. And of course, Upton comes to the plate. His brother was dealt to the Tigers in the offseason, and that, in fact, opened up a spot, an everyday spot, for the player formerly known as B.J. Upton. Scott Kazmir back to work. One base runner against him today was on an infield single back in the first inning. It's kind of crazy to look back on it now, guys. You see Trace Thompson into the game and left. It was a ball that, what, 99 times out of 100, Chase Utley's going to make the play on. He just lost his footing on a routine chopper and then lost the ball out of his hand because he lost that footing. Spangenberg was able to beat it out. That's the only base runner tonight. Two one. 2-2.
The only hit off of Clayton Kershaw last night was a ball that Carl Crawford really couldn't pick up.
So Dodgers starters now, 12 innings, 2 hits, no runs. 2-2, 1 out. This is something Scott Kazmir's putting together tonight.
Well, he's had fastball location. He's had the outstanding changeup. As he's gone through the order now for the second time, he started to add a cut fastball into the righties. Hasn't really featured the curveball that much. It's mostly been the fastball changeup, and now new little wrinkle with the cutter as they start to creep out to the outside corner of the right-handed hitters. Now he can run something in on their hands.
You see them going out there. I was about to say you haven't seen this because Austin Barnes and Kazmir have really been on the same page. The only reason they're out there talking is because there's a pinch hitter right now.
Exactly.
That pinch hitter, guys, is Jabari Blash, making his big league debut this year. Big time power for this guy. Just looks like it. It's a Rule 5 pick, came over from the Seattle Mariners. 6'5", 235 pounds. Pounded 32 home runs last year in the minors.
In Tacoma.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do.
Kazmir got in on him. Justin Turner, 2 out.
When he was taking BP on that little weak ground ball, but during BP, I said he's hitting him up like where Mac used to hit him. I mean, I was just standing around the cage, didn't really even take notice of him in the cage, and then all of a sudden these balls are going into the second deck, and it's a different sound.
I took notice because he was huge.
Yeah. Originally from the U.S. Virgin Islands. 2 out. John Jay 0 for 2. Strike 1. On the topic of Dodgers starting pitching, and on the topic of day 2 of the season, side note, Zach Greinke last night, 7 runs allowed on 9 hits in his Diamondbacks debut, including 3 home runs allowed, 2 of them from the rookie Trevor Story, who's taken over at shortstop for the Rockies. He was blocked all those years in the minors by Troy Tulowitzki. Now, of course, is with Toronto.
The red flag for Arizona in that game for me was Zach's velocity was down. A good 3-4 mile an hour.
7 runs on 9 hits. Lasted only 4 innings. 2-1 on John Jay, and Kazmir gets one to bite away. Jay lays off. 3 balls and a strike. It's only the 3rd 3-ball count of the night. 3-2. 17 straight retired by Scott Kazmir. Welcome to the Dodgers. Lineup relatively unchanged from last year. What they're counting on is bounce backs. Jock Peterson was an all-star in the first half last year. These numbers you're seeing here for Puig and Peterson are what they put up in the second half. Peterson regressed, and in the case of Puig, he couldn't get over the injury bug and hit just 248.
You know, Nomar, as we watched it too, it actually not only was it physical, it was mental. It seemed like they were lost.
Yeah, it looked like they were constantly trying to find themselves on that second half. From their approach, from their mechanics, and they knew going into the offseason and coming into the season that they were going to have to make an adjustment. We've already seen early on, Jock Peterson, Yasiel even talked about it, not only from a physical standpoint, we've seen his body, how he's changed. He's even talked about it even from a mental approach and focus, from a focus standpoint. We've seen the different leg kick that Jock Peterson worked on in the offseason as well. So they're trying to see if that's going to translate and carry into this season.
Goes after the first one, Kevin Quackenbush, and pops out. And between innings, Scott Kazmir coming out of the game 75 pitches deep. And Dave Roberts over there having a word with him. We will get to see if he returns or not, because he's due up this inning to hit. And I can tell you right now, he's not going to return because Kike Hernandez is in the on-deck circle, ready to pinch hit for him.
You're trying to build up his pitch count. You're trying to watch where are we in the order, and you're getting ready to go back into the middle of the order for the Padres. And I'm sure Scott was asking and saying he's okay. But the long-term view is to watch the pitch count, build him up, understand where we are in the order. And you know what? We've got a very well-rested bullpen because Clayton went 7 yesterday. Yimi Garcia took over his inning and did well. And so did Luis Coleman. So we've got some pieces that need some work, and they can line it up.
And then also from the mental side, here it is, you're making your debut in a new team in the Dodger uniform, and this is your first outing. I mean,
get him up the tunnel in a good mood.
We talked about going into spring training, the question marks. We knew, well, after Clayton Kershaw, there were question marks, and that was still they weren't going to be answered at spring training.
Austin Barnes on the infield. Derek Norris making the call and the catch.
And as spring training went along, You know, you try to think, are those question marks going to be answered? And you try to say, well, Casimir, you look at his numbers, didn't quite have maybe a great spring training. How is it going to carry in? We said spring training doesn't matter. Now's the time where those questions have to be answered. And so far today, that's one step in answering the question, and a tremendous outing by Scott Casimir.
Season debut for Quackenbush. Third season he's had time in the majors, but this is his first opening day roster he's been on. On for James Shields, who gave up 3 runs on 6 hits and a walk over his 6 innings. Kike Hernandez looks at a curve for a strike. Another breaking ball, another strike. It's that season debut. He did pitch last night, so 2 appearances in as many games for Kevin Quackenbush to start his year. 2 breaking balls to start this at bat. Throws another, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pedro Baez warming in the Dodger pen. It's Josh Bard, the bullpen coach you saw down there. All 3 runs tonight coming in the 4th inning for the Dodgers. 2-run triple from Puig and an RBI single from Crawford.
At the open, I was talking about Casimir coming into this game and having to follow up Clayton Kershaw. I try to, you know, it's tough to follow up a guy in a performance like Clayton Kershaw, and he does. He matches him with 1 hit, giving up just 1 hit as well. It's pretty impressive.
He's got quite the do going. Some nice designs in the side of his head there. The detail.
At times there have almost been 2 mazes in that head.
Well said. Piqué goes after a high fastball, bangs it to short. Low throw, and Hernandez will reach to continue the inning. That'll be an error on Alexi Ramirez. His fans in San Diego getting a little bit restless. Their team getting outscored 18-0 in these 2 games. Well, some sloppy D.
Well, watch the ball at the end when it gets there. See how it just kind of comes up. He doesn't really field it that clean. And when that happens to an infielder, that almost just throws off your entire rhythm too, when you just don't catch it cleanly. And then you got to constantly remind yourself, all right, move those feet to get a good throw. Throws that in the dirt as we looked at the Morongo slow-mo cam.
Chase Utley, 3 hits last night. He's 0 for 3 tonight.
Well, the Dodger 3 runs were really scored after the Padres kind of left the door ajar with the ball in center field. It was misplayed. Yeah, the Dodgers barged through that jarred door with some hits behind that, with Yasiel's triple, Crawford's base hit. But we're looking at a man on first and 2 outs. If they catch the ball, John Jay catches the ball in center on Adrian Gonzalez's ball, and this game might be a little different.
Yep. Veteran Utley looks at a breaking ball strike. Southern California native. Was born in Pasadena, was raised in Long Beach. Went to Poly High School, stayed around the area for college. He was a UCLA Bruin. The Dodgers originally drafted him, but he chose to go to UCLA instead, despite being a 2nd-round pick in 1997 out of Poly High. After his time at UCLA, he was a 1st-round pick of the Phillies in 2000.
He is a pro's pro. I mean, there's nothing you watch him do around the clubhouse, on the ball field, that is not professional. He's locked in from the moment he arrives.
He's got that Nomar intensity.
That was intense.
I think it was pretty intense.
You
wasn't
were pretty
it?
intense.
You know, there's
focus.
Well, you know, there's things that he does. I mean, I know he gets. Everybody talks about the slide. There's a new rule at second base, and last year with Ruben Tejada, which to me still, I don't see what he did wrong. Went out there, played hard, but also even yesterday, the way he came to score at home plate when he got thrown out. You know, he was going. He was playing it right. He didn't. It wasn't a dirty slide, whatever. He was actually what you're supposed to do, recognizing where the ball's coming from and possibly maybe getting hit by that ball. That's how you're supposed to play this game. So he does little things like that that could be a factor in the game and change it.
On the bench in the clubhouse, they call that a winner.
You're right.
You're talking about his, the little things, some of them manifesting in base running. And you can go ahead and plug your ears, Oral, because I'm going to use, or Nomar, I'm going to use a metric thing here. Since 1950, he's 13th in Fangraph's base running above replacement. So meaning above the average base runner, he's 13th best all time.
And he definitely doesn't have the 13th best wheels.
Right, right.
So that shows his technique and his ability to get jumps and ability then to read and make the right turns and to slide properly and to advance when he's supposed to advance.
Take extra bases.
Extra bases, all of it.
Yeah, so those numbers basically tell you what you would say, Nomar. He's a good base runner. I don't need those numbers to tell me that. But Justin Turner said it rubs off, too. He said as soon as he arrived last year from the Phillies, the entire team started running the bases better. There's a bullet. Caught it short by Ramirez to retire the side. Dodgers up 3-0. Stretch time in San Diego. A 15-0 win in Game 1, a 3-0 lead in the 7th inning of Game 2 of the 2016 campaign. Pedro Baez comes in. You know, guys, the bullpen relatively unchanged from last season. A couple of new pieces to it. But Andrew Friedman said during the offseason the reason they didn't go out and make a ton of moves there is because they're such big believers in guys like Pedro Baez.
Guys, again, like we talked with Jock Peterson, Yasiel Puig, that need to make that step forward. Yimi Garcia, Pedro Baez, these are the kind of guys that young, big arms that just need to get a little bit more accurate, a little bit more consistent.
2, 3, and 4 coming up for San Diego. Corey Spangenberg 1 for 2. The lone base runner tonight back in the first inning. If you're just joining us, it came on a bouncer to second that Chase Utley mishandled. Turner on the grass at third. Barnes setting inside, wants it down, gets it there. Strike 2.
The one thing too about Pedro Baez, Yimi Garcia, Chris Hatcher, for me, the thing that I like to see the adjustments they make coming into this year, not only just from their effectiveness, but also their tempo. I mean, we saw when you have Scott Kazmir, the way he just came in was throwing strikes, mowing them down, but he also had a good pace and tempo on the game. You know, for relievers that come in, it's kind of nice if they can keep up that tempo when you see your starter doing that. Because that really helps the defense out so they can stay on their toes where they're not caught back on their heels, and they gives them better range to help the pitcher out.
Spangenberg leading off the 7th by striking out on a fastball at 96 from Pedro Baez. 1 away.
96 is really hard when you start him off with 2 off-speed pitches, a small little change-up, and then a breaking ball, and then the count builds, but he hasn't seen 96 there yet and blows it right by him.
Matt Kemp 0 for 2. 0 for 5 in this series. And so in this season.
Little wrinkle right there. Start him off.
Going off speed again.
When you can throw 96 miles an hour, and if you can just throw it on one half of the plate or the other, or throw it low or throw it high, the next thing you need is a breaking ball for a strike. And once you have those 2 tools, you can be really effective. If you can go to the next level after that, that's when you become unhittable. And so with a guy with Pedro's arm, he doesn't need to like throw it low and away on the black. He doesn't need to throw it up and in for a strike. He needs to be able to throw it low for a strike, high for a strike, and maybe then slightly above, and then maybe throw a breaking ball for a strike and a breaking ball he can bounce. That will be enough with his arm strength.
Threw the fastball 75% of the time last year. Throws it here at 97. Kemp barely gets a piece.
As your velocity diminishes, your accuracy or your movement has to go up. He can shoot a shotgun towards home plate where Kazmir has to shoot more of a rifle.
Breaking ball, got it. Back-to-back strikeouts to start Baez night. The Giants come to Dodger Stadium for 3 games beginning Friday, April 15th. Be sure to get your tickets today. You can purchase some by going to Dodgers.com/tickets. Giants are 2-0. beating the Brewers 2-1 tonight. Johnny Cueto in his debut gives up just 1 run over 7 innings. Panik and Crawford both a couple of hits apiece. Got in the hands of Will Myers with a 96-mile-per-hour fastball for strike 1.
A nice little changeup in the sequence. Started the last 2 hitters off, but he and Austin Barnes with off-speed stuffs. We know that Myers has been watching that, and they start him off with a fastball in.
Going to it again. He missed, but got a strike.
Like he talked about, that's one thing that velocity helps out pitchers. Velocity allows you for a little bit of margin of error.
Pedro Baez trying to strike out the side. Barnes couldn't squeeze it. And it stays at 0-2 on Will Myers.
For an 0-2 pitch, that's a hanging changeup. But because of the speed differential, because of the velocity, the tools he brings to the mound, he can get away with that missing a spot. Right about here, he could throw that breaking ball low and away that he threw to Matt Kemp. Make it look like a fastball for a strike, end up low and away. Or they're going up the ladder with a fastball.
Yes.
He can throw any one of his 3 pitches to a general area. As long as it's effective, he should get him out.
Well, they finally put it in play, but it's an easy play. Justin Turner hitting the speedy Myers to finish the frame. Good work, Pedro Baez, with a 1-2-3 inning. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the Baconlicious Sourdough Bacon Ranch Combo only at Jack in the Box. Third Padre pitcher of the night is Brandon Maurer, on for his 2016 debut. Trying to become the first guy to retire Corey Seager tonight. 2, 3, and 4 for the Dodgers. Ball 1. Corey is single in the first, single in the fourth, scored the game's first run, and then a double in the 5th. Popped up to short left. This is where his first single of the night went. Upton Jr. on to put this one away. Take a look at our SoCal Honda in-game box score. It will show that the Dodgers' 3 runs came in 1 inning, with Corey Seager scoring the first one, Adrian Gonzalez scoring the next, Puig scoring the third. First 2 scored on Puig's 2-run triple. Carl Crawford brought home Puig with a base hit of his own. It's been the top part of the order getting the job done tonight for Dave Roberts' team.
And they did a tremendous job taking advantage of that 1 inning on James Shields. You even touched on it earlier, Oral, about that misplay out there in center field by John Jay. And just looking at that, scoring right there, and you saw at the top with Chase Utley going 0 for 4. But he could 0 for 4 right now, but easily be 2 for 4 because he's lined out twice and swung the bat well.
And Corey Seager yesterday with a 1 for 6 looked like he got caught up in the exhaust of all the other hits by everybody else, but tonight comes back with 3.
Brandon Maurer out of Newport Beach, California. 25-year-old deals a 3-1. Strike 2. Payoff to Turner. Seager flied to left. Turner takes strike 3.
And this ball was down. It was borderline whether it caught that corner or not. You see Justin Turner as he dropped the bat going over there and upset and was like already unbuckling his shin guard. Good thing that he went and grabbed the bat and walked off, because Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire, was watching him, and he had some words for him. Let him talk, and then walk back to the dugout.
Adrian Gonzalez always gets a unique reception here. The city that he was born in, city that he grew up in. Spent a few years in Mexico as a child, but his family moved back here to San Diego when he was 8. The first overall pick in the draft from high school here in San Diego. To the Florida Marlins back in 2000. And from the Marlins to the Rangers, from the Rangers to the Padres. Spent 5 years here in San Diego. Through 2010, was traded to Boston the following season. Waits on this 1-2 and swings through a fastball at 96. Good work by Brandon Maurer in that 8th inning for the Padres. On to the bottom half. LA in front 3-0. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Chris Hatcher was a different pitcher in the second half last year after he returned from that sprained oblique. That makes his debut in 2016.
An outstanding big arm, a great split finger, little slider, and much better command. Attack in the strike zone. A lot of his problems came from ball one, ball two, and then having to come down Broadway. Now he's learned to really get ahead, and he's mastered his own body and mechanics.
Fouled off of the mask of Barnes.
And he even touched on it after he came back after that injury. Then not only did he go down to obviously rehab and heal, but he also said it was good for him to go down and work on mechanics and recognize that he had to make some adjustments, that what he was doing prior to that injury wasn't working and wasn't as effective. And kudos to him for recognizing that and coming back and making an impact.
He was out from mid-June until mid-August. It was 0-1. Bends into the knees for a strike. And he's ahead of Norris, 0-2.
When he comes set from the stretch, when he was struggling before he got hurt and remade his mechanics, he was a little more closed, maybe only looking at home plate with one eye, but now a little bit more open on the first base side of the rubber and really kind of stares in and zeroes in on the target with two eyes. It's not quite as deceptive a delivery, but it's a much more effective delivery as far as his command.
Norris 0 for 2 tonight, but who isn't? One base runner for San Diego on an infield single in the first from Corey Spangenberg. 2-2 to Norris. 1 out. 1 away in the 8th inning. And we take a look at our Access Sportsnet studios back in Los Angeles. The guys getting ready. We'll break it down after the game. Alana Rizzo will have interviews and reactions in the clubhouse as soon as we finish. Access Sportsnet brought to you by Nissan.
I'm really surprised Jerry's not looking up at the camera. He is so camera ready. You know, he was looking at himself in that monitor looking down.
That's what it was.
So he's like, I didn't need to look up.
Ned looked very stoic there.
Ned's always pro's pro.
Yep.
Who was the guy on the far side, the right side here?
John something.
John Hartung?
You know, when my hiring was announced, all three of those guys reached out in the first few days to welcome me. Good dudes.
You know they're listening to us, Joe.
That doesn't change the fact that they're good guys. 2-0 to Solarte.
Did they not only text you or call you, but did they buy you gifts?
Oh, hey, no, they didn't give me any cufflinks. Look at these things.
You know, Rook, had to get you some cufflinks to match your name.
So you have your Bulldog cufflinks. I now have Rooks.
That's right.
I've got them on tonight.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations, and we are so glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
So you're going to have to wear those all year.
What do I put on next year?
Well, then, you know.
Oh, boy.
Well, you can't wear those because you're no longer a Rook.
No more. I'll get you something.
Yeah. Sweet.
I'm in charge of the paper part of the marriage. He's in charge of the second year.
Down on strikes goes Solarte, and Hatcher does the same thing Baez did, and that is begin his season with back-to-back punch-outs.
Key for the bullpen right now after a performance by Scott Kazmir. Tremendous performance. You got Baez coming in. Pair of strikeouts, putting a 0 up on that inning. It's up to Chris Hatcher to continue that. And hopefully be able to hand off the ball for a closer.
Started Alexi Ramirez off with a cutter, just missed, ball 1. Started utilizing that cutter more after he came back from the disabled list. Took some off his slider. Numbers improved a ton. 1-1. Through the fastball, guys. 2/3 of the time before the injury. That dropped down to half the time after the injury as he started mixing in more off speed.
Well, as the mechanics get better and you can repeat them, then your release point gets better, and then your range and your accuracy, and you feel like you can now spin the ball. And you also, when you're throwing your fastball for strikes, you get to your secondary pitches when you're ahead in the count. And Rick Honeycutt was the one that suggested that as he was building himself back up, that he take some speed off his slider and also throw the cutter to give him more differential. He pretty much was pitching like a bull in a china shop, like everything harder's got to be better. And now he's learning that taking a little off, kind of a little better resting heart rate as he comes set, and just kind of thinking about hitting the target, getting in the right area, and creating the right speed and break is more important than just the running of the bulls.
His 2-1. Hit through his legs behind second. Shea Sutley finishes the inning with a nice play. That is 7 consecutive 1, 2, 3 innings executed by Kazmir, then Baez, then Hatcher. 3-0 onto the ninth. Off at the top. Good luck to Scott Kazmir having to follow this guy who went 7 innings, shutout baseball, 9 strikeouts, gave up just 1 hit. All Kazmir did was go 6 innings and do the same darn thing.
Both looked tremendous, didn't they? I mean, just Scott Kazmir coming out in his Dodger debut. The command was there, the mixing of pitches, the rhythm. He was in sync with Austin Barnes behind home plate. Just everything all around was very efficient. There's a guy right there who started it all yesterday, and talking with his battery mate, and hopefully it continues.
They're going to pass the baton to Kenta Maeda tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to that, huh?
Yep. He had a huge circle of media around him before the game after BP, of all the reporters following him around getting ready for his first outing over here.
This is far from the first outing Fernando Rodney's career. Split last year between Seattle and the north side of Chicago. Now comes here to replace Craig Kimbrell in the closer's role in San Diego. He'll face 5, 6, and 7. Yasiel Puig up first. This is as animated of a hitter-pitcher matchup as you may find in the majors. Puig tonight 1 for 2. The big blow of the evening, a 2-run triple back in the 4th, and then scored on Crawford's ensuing base hit. For Scott Kazmir, by the way, this is just how he started last year. April 8, 2015, 7 shutout innings against Texas while he was a member of the Oakland A's. Struck out 10 in that game. Rodney's 2-1. Puig bounces it to short for Ramirez. This week only, T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. So go to T-Mobile.com/MLB to sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. First at-bat tonight for Trayce Thompson, whose first at-bat as a Dodger was a double last night. Kelly Jansen preparing for the 9th. Strike 1 to Thompson. Former Chicago White Sox. His first year in a Dodger uniform. Made his big league debut last year on the south side of Chicago. He's one of the key pieces in that 3-team deal that sent Todd Frazier from the Reds to the White Sox. Chases 1-2.
You could have a very young athletic outfield in a year or two. Trayce Thompson maybe in left, Yasiel Puig in right, and Jock Peterson in center. Who knows?
Thompson down on strikes. 2 away in the 9th.
Yesterday, Trayce Thompson came in the game as well, and he had 2 at-bats, 1 walk, and got a base hit. There, strikes out, but I think that also shows how, you know, Dave Roberts talked about getting everybody in the ball game, making sure they're ready every day so that they're just not sitting there getting cold. So when the day he needs a call on them, that they're ready, that they've gotten some work in.
Ball 1 to Jock Peterson. 2 strikeouts and a pop out tonight.
How many days is too long, Nomar? How many days can you sit before you've kind of lost it and it's going to take you a long time to get back in it?
You know, that's different for everybody, actually. That's why we always admired those guys that were those utility guys that can come off and maybe sit 3 to 4 days, sometimes even 5 days, and still come in and get a hit and be effective.
Quality at bat,
yeah,
even if it's sitting that long.
Because it's not easy to do. So some people are like, oh, at 2 days it's too long, some 3 days, and then some guys can wait a week and look like they just got out of bed and go get a hit.
Manny Mota, Lenny Harris, guys like that. Think of Dave Hansen. Some great pinch hitters.
Little cue shot up along third. Will it stay fair? Rolls just foul. Hit that lip of the grass.
Between the lip and the spin that a left-handed hitter will have when he hits the ball in that direction. That ball had good side spin.
Well, with the spin, you know, it's interesting here is you saw Fernando Rodney kind of fall off and then he stopped, like, get out of the way, there's no chance. But look at Norris. He's still running after. You know why? Because there is spin and he didn't want that ball to roll back fair.
That's your guy.
He's going out there hustling, just not assuming and taking it for granted, like, all right, it's a foul ball.
When you're not watching baseball this weekend, you can see balls move like that in the Masters. There's going to be some big turns on those greens.
You a big golf watcher, Oral?
Yeah, I used to be a big golfer until my body started to break down.
I know your strategy is the same as mine, Nomar. Get your money's worth. Take as many strokes as you can if you're going to go play.
Absolutely. Why would they were like, oh, give as few strokes as you. I paid a lot of money to play on this golf course. I'm going to get my money's worth. That's what I say.
Yep.
I paid a lot of money to play on the golf courses too, especially when Tommy caught me with the clubs on the airplane and I wasn't supposed to have it. He goes, Bulldog, that's $250. I said, Skip, okay. Next day I beat him into the clubhouse, put a check for $1,000 on his desk. He comes out of his clubhouse locker and he goes, what is this, Bulldog? I said, you're going to catch me 3 more times.
Jock earns the walk, I think. Yep.
I put my wife's maiden name on the bag, thinking he wouldn't, really research, because the broadcasters at the time were allowed to still play. And so I'm just added in with the broadcasters' bags, and we were going to New York and Pittsburgh, and I was going to play like Wingfoot and Oakmont and all these great courses. He went down the belly of the plane with our clubhouse guy and was reading the name tags on every golf bag.
Wow.
So it's not bad to play Pine Valley and Oakmont and Wingfoot for $1,000 though.
Yeah, right.
See, wouldn't you want to get your money's worth, like we
That's
talked
what I'm
about?
saying.
Right. I said I got my money's worth.
Absolutely. I mean, swing away. And I usually, when I play, I get a look of the whole course, not just the fairway.
Right. Right.
Anyone could hit off the fairway.
Well, you were a spray hitter. You used the whole field.
Exactly.
That just doesn't work out in golf.
Yeah.
Oh, scenic parts of the courses aren't always the straightest route to the hole.
Try to see if I can have a trick shot.
Oh.
Around the tree somehow.
So do you have a Masters pick for us, Oral?
Oh boy.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't.
Boyd Robertson, our stage manager, he's picking for me Jason Day.
Okay.
We'll go with that one.
Sounds good to me. I love watching it. Masters in HD. Yeah.
We're going to have to record it because I think we're going to be on the plane back to LA from the Sunday game in San Francisco.
Right. Peterson takes off, throw down to second, not close. Jock steals his first base of the year.
With my Time Warner cable, I can record up to 6 stations at once.
Wow.
So every one of the Masters channels.
Yeah.
You'll get every angle.
Amen Corner, 18th green, the live broadcast, you can get them all.
3 balls and a strike on Austin Barnes. Dodgers trying to add some insurance. Heading into the bottom of the 9th. Moves back in, 3-2. For the Padres in the bottom half, 8-9-1 due up. That'd be Upton in the pitcher's spot. Then John Jay against Kenley Jansen. Things have gone as planned tonight. 1 base runner for the Padres, 6 shutout frames for Kazmir. Perfect inning from Baez. Perfect inning from Hatcher. And a 3-2 to Barnes. Got him. Filthy stuff from Fernando Rodney. Fasten those seatbelts onto the bottom of the 9th. Kenley Jansen on for the first time, trying to lock down win number 2 of the year.
to get his first save of the 2016 season. A bit of a scary moment yesterday when the Dodgers were on the field here at Petco Park taking BP. Kenley Jansen and J.P. Howell were playing catch with one another.